In this video, I'll show you how to create an add-on instruction in Studio 5000 for a Hach SC4500 instrument that communicates over Profibus DP via a PLX51PBM module. So in the previous video, we added in the mapping from the PLX51PBM module, which we added into the hardware tree, and we installed the EDS file for that module. We then added in the master command to the module and also to the device that we added so that it knows that we want them both to be active and start exchanging data. If you missed that video, have a look back for the generating and importing the Prosoft configuration utility, L5X file for use in Studio 5000 video. So we're now going to start creating our add-on instruction. So if you right-click the add-on instruction folder and click New, and I'm just going to call this one inst pb Hach SC4500, and then you can put a description in there and whatever you like. So I'm just going to put Hach SC4500 instrument over Profibus DP, and then you can click OK. So we now need to start adding our logic into the add-on instruction. So I'm just going to put an NOP so it doesn't call that rung, just to give it a title. So I'm just going to put Profibus DP and Hach SC4500 via PLX51PBM module. There we go. So I'm just going to add some copy instructions into the first rung of the block so we can copy our input data from the device and write them into local tags so that we can then use those local tags to get the information we need. So right click and monitor the input tag that's come in from the PLX51PBM module when we imported it, and we can see that we've got a status, a val, an error, status and heartbeat in there. So first thing we're going to want is the status from the PLX51PBM module. So I'm just going to put PLX51PBM underscore device input status, and my internal tag in the block I'm just going to put PLX51PBM status again. So we need to check the data type, so we have the tag exactly the same as what was imported. So I'm just going to right click and copy that, and then right click and new parameter, and this needs to be an in-out parameter. So I'm just going to change in-out parameter there, and in the data type I'm going to paste in to make sure it's exactly the same as what was imported from the PLX51PBM module, and I'm just going to give it a description. Okay, that, and we're going to right click our internal tag and go new local tag. Again, this needs to be the same data type as what was imported, so I've put that in there, and again give it a description. Okay, so we're copying the in-out data from the outside of the block into our new local tag, and that's a length of 1 because it's the same data type. So next one we want to do is there's a real for our value, our process variable, the raw data coming in. So I'm just going to call this PLX51PBM device input val. Again, you can call this whatever you like. So if you don't want to call it that, you want to call it something else, feel free. So my internal tag I'm just going to have is inst val, and our in-out parameter again will be added, and again the data type wants to be the same as what was imported, so that's a real value. And again, just going to put in a quick description here. and OK. So the next one, you can see we've got 3 integers that have been imported in, so the next 3 are going to be integers. And I'm going to call this one PLX51PBM device input ERR for error. And now our local tag, I'm just going to put inst_ERR for our error again, and then that's a length of 1 again, because we're moving one integer into another integer. Again, that needs to be an in-out parameter, and we know that's an int, so I'm just going to change that. And as always, putting in a description so I know what it is. And OK. And I'm sure you've worked it out now. We're going to add our local tag. And again, that has to match the data type, so that's an int. And I'm going to again put the description in, instrument error value, and OK. And so our next one, which is our status tag. So again, we're going to keep it similar to the others. Device input underscore STAT for stat. And that's the in-out parameter. And now I'm going to have my local tag and just call that inst stat. And again, that's a length of 1. So new parameter. So in-out parameter, and that's again an int. So I'm just going to copy this description just so I can paste it in the next one, and OK. And right click, new local tag. Again, it's an integer, and I'm just going to paste that in there for the description, and OK. Okay, so the last one we've got here is for the heartbeat. I'm not sure I'm actually going to use this tag, but I'm going to bring it into the data anyway, just in case I want to use it. So again, if there's any other specific bits of data you need, you can add those in to your data mapping of the instrument, and then put in the data to the PLX51PBM configuration utility software. And then once that's imported in, you've got that, and you'll just need to add it in here the same way we have the previous ones. So again, just put the description in for the heartbeat tag. And OK. And I'm just going to do the same again with the local tag. If you're enjoying the tutorials, please like and subscribe, as it really helps to build the channel. And that's our local tag created, and we can still see that we've got an error there because there's a cross on the left and it's all in red. So I'm just going to check my tags through here by hovering over them. I've missed out the inst_val local tag. So I'm just going to quickly add that in now. Again, that was a real, so I'm just going to change that data type. And stick a description for the local tag. Okay, there we go. That's all looking good and healthy now. And I'm just going to add another copy instruction, and I'm going to put the status tag that is the local tag we previously made, and this will be to add in the node address so that we'll be able to see that on the outside of the add-on instruction. So this is good to know that the instrument is set up correctly by looking at this data. So this is going to be an output parameter, and it's a single integer. So I'm just going to type in sint in there and just give it a description. And I want this to be visible outside the block, so I'll just tick that and OK. So I'm just going to edit and put in a run comment, just describing what this run does. Again, this description can be whatever makes sense to you. Obviously this makes sense to me in my add-on instruction, but you might want to make it more basic or put a bit more information in there, whichever helps you out when you look inside the block, and for anyone else who may be using the block as well. The more information the better usually. So I'm just going to add 2 rungs below and put a energized output on both of those. I'm going to copy and paste this, and I'm going to need one for the instrument device online tag. So this flag will be used for once we know that the device is online, it'll be an output parameter, so we can see outside the block quite easily, as it's some important information to know that. And remember to have the visible ticked, so it'll show on the outside of the block, and then put the description in. Okay. And I'm just going to add a couple of conditions in here, just ready for when we decide what we want to put in there. And this one's going to be for the instrument failed flag. So this can be an alarm outside the block and can be used through your process code. So again, new parameter, and it's an output parameter. And again, we want this visible. And if we just add a description again. So we've set up our 2 flags there, which we'll come back to. I'm just going to add another rung here and add an NOP so it doesn't get called that rung, and I'm just going to have it as a separate divide to have our instrument status conditions below here. So I'm just going to create a new tag here called instrument status, and this will be an array. So this will be a local tag, as we'll just be using it inside the block. And I'll have this as an int, and I'm just going to put the description instrument status in there, and okay. So now this is going to be our first point for our instrument status, so I'm just going to put this at bit 0 of our integer. And now if we pull our inst stat down, which has our instrument status positions in there, and again that's an integer, and that's going to be .0. So if we right click and monitor, we'll be able to see our local inst status tag. And that's got all our bits in there for the integer, and we're going to want to put in for each bit a description that matches what the manual states. So I've got the manual here, and I'm just going to make that a bit bigger so we can see everything in one screen. So we can see our bit 0 there is calibration in progress, and the note says the device is in calibration mode, measurements may not be valid. So I'm just going to put in the device is in calibration mode, measurements may not be valid, just so that matches the note for that bit. And again, I'm just going to follow this through each bit so that it matches. So bit 1, the device is in a cleaning mode, measurements may not be valid. So if you put in each of the statuses for each bit so they match the notes, the reason I'm not putting the status bit in there is because I usually will put that in the run comment above each of these. So if you just copy and paste your first status, you can change it to bit 1, and you can see there that it shows the description now that had been put in. And now we want to right click and put our run comment. And this is where I put the actual status bit that it says. So bit 0, calibration in progress, and bit 1, cleaning in progress. So then you've got all the information you need for each of those bits. So when you're fault finding, you can see exactly what's happening with the instrument if you've got any issues. So if you continue to make the rest of the rungs in the same way we've just made those two, and I'm just going to paste some in here from a previous project I've worked on. So we already have all of these in for each bit, and we've got all the descriptions and run comments which equal the same descriptions from the instruments manual, which we can see there, so all the way up to bit 15 for our integer. So now I'm just going to add a new rung and an NOP again to separate from our status, and this is going to be for our instrument error. So it's going to work the same way as our status. We'll have an error tag and we'll input a description on each of the integer bits for the error, and then we'll have the message on our rung comment. So I'm just going to set my rung up here and add a inst underscore error. So this will be a local tag, and again this will be an integer. So our first one is going to be our bit 0 of our integer. So I'm just going to put a 0 in there. And then if we scroll up and copy our inst error local tag from our input data, and I'm just going to paste that in there. And again, this is .0 for bit 0. And I'm just going to copy paste that. Again, I'm just going to add the bit 1 and bit 1. And we can see it says instrument error word on each of those, which is not useful to us. So I'm going to right click and monitor. And if we have a look here, we've got measurement calibration error. An error has occurred during the last calibration. So I'm going to put in the indication in there. And for bit 1, we can see this is electronic adjustment error. An error has occurred during the last electronic calibration. So again, I'm just going to put that in here. And I'm just going to save there. So here again, if you just fill out the rest of these to match our error indication and add in the descriptions to the tags in the run comments. So I've just pasted that in again from a previous project just to save time for the video. And so we can see now we've got all of our error descriptions throughout there. So now we've got our status and instrument error tags completed, we'll be able to complete our device online and instrument failed flags. So I'm just going to add another open contact there. If we right click and monitor our status, we can open that up and see that we have a device online tag to show when the device is online, and also a data exchange active tag. So those both want to be a 1, so I'm just going to copy that and add that in to our first bit on our device online flag. And then if we go back to there, I'm going to copy the data exchange tag and again add that in to our second tag. So if the device is showing is online and data is exchanging, we know that our device is online and is healthy. So I'm now going to use that device online to be the first point for our inst failed. So as long as the instrument is online, I want to check that the instrument isn't failed. So I'm going to put an open contact. I'm going to have 2 on there. So from our status tag, if we have a look there again, there's a device error. And we can see that device error 0 is okay and 1 equals that there's an error. So I'm going to copy that tag. And I'm going to paste that in for one of the conditions. So if the device error comes on, we'll have our inst failed And for our second condition, I'm just going to scroll down and find our common error from our status tag. So I'm just going to paste that in there for our second condition and save. So that's our instrument failed output tag completed. And we're going to now need to put our instrument val, which is our process variable from the instrument. And we're going to need to condition that. So I'm just going to add a new rung, and again NOP, and put a description in here. So I'm going to put in the two conditions here, one normally open contact, one normally closed, and then a move block. So I'm going to want to use, if the device is online, we want to move our raw data into our destination process variable tag. And if it's not online, I'm going to want to put a 0 in to our process variable tag, which I'm just going to call as PV. So this is going to want to be an output parameter from the block. So this is our data that comes from the instrument. It's a reel from the data that gets sent over from the instrument, and we want it to be visible, so remember to tick that. And then add in the description. So I'm putting instrument process variable and OK. And I'm going to drag that down to the one below. So if the device is not online, move a 0 into our PV tag, because we don't know if the device is online, that any information that we're getting from the device is making sense, if it's correct or not. So that's just going to put in a 0 to the PV because it can't be trusted basically. And then when it is online, we put in our raw data, which is already converted in the right format, and it just gets transferred straight away into our PV tag. So I'm just going to do a save again, as our instrument data is all set up now inside our add-on instruction. So I'm just going to add now a new program. So we can put our new add-on instruction in an instrument area. I'm just going to call this program process area 1, but feel free to call it whatever your process area is called. And I'm going to add a new routine called main. This will be our main routine to call all the JSRs, so it can be in order of our routines. And we're going to add another program called instruments. And let's not forget to add in our JSR so it calls our instrument routine. So I'm just going to drag the instrument routine into the JSR there and close that. And then if we open our instrument routine, I'm going to put NOP and just put a description in the top there on the first rung. And add a new rung there, and I'm going to just drag our new add-on instruction that we've just made onto there. So we can see our in-out parameters outside the block, but we'll add those in a moment. First of all, we want to give our block a name. So my instrument's called TT001. So I'm just going to put in there TT001, and then right click new and give the instrument a name. So mine's a temperature instrument. So I'm just going to put temperature sensor, and I'm just going to put the tag again just in front of it and create. So we can see the description above now with the new tag. And if we go back to our mapping that we brought in from the PLX51 module, we first want the status tag. So I'm just going to copy that and then just paste that in the first status in out tag there. Next one's our value. So again, copy that and then paste that in there. Next one, our error, same again, copy on there. And same again for our status and heartbeat tag. So we've got all our tags in there now, and we can see that the rung is healthy. We've got our instrument failed alarm and device online output parameters. I think I've got an old tag in there called online, which is not what I want. So to remove a tag, we can right click and go to properties. And then if we go to parameters and find our online tag, and then just delete that and click OK and yes. And now you can see that's removed. We have our output parameter for our Profibus node and also our PV, which is all ready to use. So I'm just going to click save. And if we just right click on our tag for the block and check what data we have coming out of that, just click the little arrow there. So we've got our Profibus node there, we've got our device online, instrument failed, and PV, which we can use outside the block. So PV is the main one that would be used, and probably instrument failed on any process code that you might be writing. So that's our add-on instruction created. So thanks for watching. I hope this has been useful for you. Please like and subscribe the video as it helps the channel build, and I know that you're enjoying these videos. Hope to see you in the next one.